So pre-orders for the new Sony Alpha 9 III just dropped, so basically everyone who just shelled out for an FX3 after watching the creator is checking their return policy. Okay, not really. The FX3 is a killer camera that can be built out as much as you want and can obviously handle the grueling task of feature film work. But what does the FX3 not have? Global shutter, the holy grail of the digital cinema world. Zero distortion or blackouts, the perfect type of sensor for feature film work, especially with fast action. The alternative is, of course, rolling shutter, which takes in light from top to bottom, causing all kinds of funky distortion across your image, especially when capturing things like helicopter blades or a spinning wheel for some reason. That said, the global shutter is really the new Alpha's big selling point for filmmakers. The camera does only shoot 4K, unlike the Red Komodo and Zcam E2 S6G, which shoot 6K, have global shutters, and come in at about the same price. The Alpha does downsample from the full 6K sensor though, which means you'll still be getting a detailed, tack-sharp image. Now with the help of an external recorder, like an Atomos Ninja, you can record open gate at 4.7K at up to 60 frames a second in 16-bit RAW, which is pretty exciting. Of course, if you want to keep things compact, you can always shoot 10-bit 422 internally to one or both of the card slots, which supports CF Express Type A or UHS-2. So then the question is, why would you want to spend your $6,000 on an Alpha 9 versus, say, a Komodo? Well, there's a host of additional features which the Komodo lacks that makes the Alpha 9 way more intriguing. For instance, the Alpha has internal 120 FPS 4K recording, incredible eye detection autofocus. Traditionally, Sony sensors have been low-light monsters. You can use less expensive media, you have access to S-Cinetone and S-Log3, and there's sensor shift stabilization. Plus, it's a full-frame sensor and a ridiculously fast 24.6 megapixel stills camera. It even has 5 gig Ethernet for fast data transfers, which is like, what? Now, if you're going to be using the Alpha for serious production, you're probably going to want to rig it out, which does mean you'll be putting a cage on it and probably using something like a V-mount battery. I don't see any real advantage or disadvantage over the Red there. You still have to rig up the Komodo, at least to some extent, to get any real use out of it. But there are 4 things that the Komodo does have that sets it above the A9 III. The first is a little more subjective, but it's color science. Straight out of the camera, the Komodo's image generally looks more film-like, whereas Sony's tends to need a little bit more work. It's a bit of a more digital-looking image. The second, which I haven't been able to get a clear answer on yet, is timecode. It's something they added to the FX3 in a firmware update, but hopefully it's included out of the box here, being such an expensive camera with already great filmmaking potential. Next is SDI, which, if you're buying an Alpha 9, probably isn't your biggest concern. And before we get to our last point, if you want a chance to win production gear like cameras, lights, monitors, and lenses, head over to my Patreon. I've made the subscriptions dirt cheap, and the more supporters I get, the bigger the giveaways are going to be. The idea being, I won't have to use corporate sponsors, you'll have some control over what gets reviewed, and then you'll have a chance to win those things after I review them. Pretty cool, right? So head over to patreon.com/JoshMcDarris or click the link in the description. Okay, so last but not least, remember when I said the FX3 could obviously handle the grueling task of feature film work? A big reason was the internal cooling fan. Now, Sony has only gotten better at mitigating heat in its cameras, but if you've got a big budget shoot where time is money, and your camera overheats in the middle of a take, well, that's not a good day. Now, we haven't seen a lot of tests yet, so I'm a bit hesitant to speculate, but I am worried that longer takes are going to mean overheating. but I do wonder if recording externally will help with those temperatures. If you have experience recording externally with the Alpha series, let me know in the comments. Although we are talking about a global shutter sensor here, so we're kind of in uncharted territory. Overall, this is a really exciting camera. Really expensive, but also really exciting. I think for professional content creators, journalists, and indie filmmakers, this is going to be an amazing camera. Now, this camera is not going to be released until the end of February, but hopefully I can get my hands on one before that, mostly because I want to test out its 16-bit RAW capabilities with the Atomos Ninja. At the very least, maybe they'll have a demo at CES in January. But what do you think of the camera? Is it a total game changer, or is it just overhyped and overpriced? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, thanks for watching. Check out some of my other gear reviews like the Canon C70. It's a few years old now, but it is an absolute workhorse of a camera. I highly recommend it. Oh, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.